Do you ever look up at the sun and wonder what would happen if it suddenly disappeared? Don't worry, it won't disappear anytime soon. But just for fun, let's explore what would happen if the sun vanished into thin air right now. In this video, we'll take a look at the immediate effects, how long you could survive, and what would eventually become of our solar system. So buckle up and prepare for a wild ride through outer space. Immediate effects first 8 minutes, so the sun has gone out for a smoke break and won't be back for a while. How long does Earth have before it gets too dark to do anything about it? Well, surprisingly, not very long. It takes light from the sun around 8 minutes to reach Earth. So if the sun disappeared right now, Earth would be plunged into darkness within 8 minutes. But wait, there's more. The sun's gravity doesn't just magically vanish along with its light. And that means all the planets, moons, and asteroids in our solar system would continue to move forward in their orbits for a few minutes after the sun disappears. However, they would quickly start flying off in straight lines because the gravitational pull that keeps them in orbit no longer exists. All of this would happen so fast that people wouldn't have time to react. Even if someone managed to snap a picture, it would take over 8 minutes for us to see it. Temperature drops, so the first few minutes are all about chaos and darkness. What comes next is cold, really, really cold. Let's take a look at how the temperature would change without the sun's life-giving rays. Within a week, Earth's average surface temperature would drop below -17 degrees Celsius. This would be enough to kill most plants and wildlife and make the surface of Earth uninhabitable for humans. Within a year, the average surface temperature would drop to around -73 degrees Celsius. At this point, the entire surface of Earth would be frozen solid and any remaining life would have to migrate deep underground or underwater. But even there, it would get pretty chilly. However, things would get even colder the deeper you went. Eventually, you would reach temperatures of around -170 degrees Celsius, which is close to absolute zero. The oceans would freeze over and only liquid water might remain deep below the ice sheets. And then there's the atmosphere. Without the sun's energy, it would immediately start collapsing. All the gases that make up Earth's atmosphere would eventually drift into outer space. Atmosphere and darkness. Speaking of the atmosphere, what would happen to it when the sun disappeared? Well, let's start with the most obvious effect. The sky would instantly fill with stars, even in the middle of the day. But don't get too excited about stargazing. There's nothing to see. The sun is a star, and if it disappeared, you wouldn't be able to see any stars either. Why? Because the sun's corona makes the sky bright. The corona is an outer layer of the sun's atmosphere that would disappear along with the rest of the sun. This means that even though you would be surrounded by stars, you wouldn't be able to see them because the sky would be filled with blinding light. As soon as the sun disappeared, photosynthesis would stop, which means that plants would die. This would have a devastating impact on the entire food chain and lead to the collapse of most ecosystems. Human survival. So what would happen to humans if the sun suddenly disappeared? Well, we wouldn't last long. Our best chance of survival would be to find artificial sources of energy like nuclear power or geothermal energy. Nuclear power would be a great option, but we would need to dig deep underground to find geothermal vents that produce enough heat to sustain life. Life on Earth would become a real struggle, but some animals and plants might survive in these underground or underwater habitats. Of course, we're assuming that the sun wouldn't disappear with Earth. Otherwise, all baits are off. But even if the sun did take Earth with it, there might still be a few survivors. If humanity wants to have any chance of surviving, we need to get off this planet and find a new one. But where would we go? We could try looking for a new star system, but don't hold your breath. Unfortunately, finding a suitable star system would take centuries. Satellites, power grids, and other tech that relies on solar power would fail almost immediately. Cell phones, computers, and other electronic devices would die within minutes. The global economy would collapse and chaos would ensue. People would panic and try to flee to safer places like underground bunkers or remote areas with geothermal activity. But there aren't many of these places, and they wouldn't be able to sustain large populations for long. Solar system chaos. As the days turn into years, our solar system begins to fall apart. Planets, moons, and comets would drift away from their orbits and into interstellar space. Some might crash into each other, while others might be flung out of the solar system entirely. The sun's gravity keeps the planets in their orbits and also controls their rotation. Without the sun's gravity, everything would spin wildly out of control. The Earth's rotational speed would increase dramatically, leading to stronger winds and earthquakes. Earth would continue to cool until it became an ice cube floating aimlessly through space. As far as we know, the solar system would effectively cease to exist. Long-term, if humanity were to somehow survive the initial shock of the sun's disappearance, we would have to leave Earth and find a new star system to orbit. Luckily, there are plenty of stars out there just waiting for us. Just one problem, though: getting there would take centuries. We would need to develop new propulsion systems that are much more efficient than the ones we have today. Even if we could travel faster, we would need to find a planet that is suitable for life. And that wouldn't be easy. Even if we found a new planet to call home, we would have to leave our past behind. All of our satellites, space stations, and other infrastructure would be abandoned. We would become a nomadic species, constantly searching for new sources of energy and resources. This might sound like a bleak future, but it's actually not that far-fetched. In a few billion years, the sun will run out of fuel and our solar system will face the same fate. So we should start planning ahead if we want to survive. Luckily for us, this won't happen for a few billion years, so we have plenty of time to prepare. Or maybe we should focus on enjoying the present moment. After all, who knows what the future holds? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and share it with friends. We'd love to have you back for more videos.